Go on then. Turn off the video. I dare you. I dare you to switch off this video, move on to the next one, watch that for 20 seconds, and then rinse and repeat. That's what you like doing, innit? And you know that book you've only read 20 pages of? Just chuck it in the bin, mate. You're never going to finish it. And while you're at it, chuck your yoga mat in the bin as well. And your gym card. And your engagement ring. And then get into your half-made bed and half wank yourself off and then fall half asleep. Because you have commitment issues. You say you're going to do something and you don't finish it. Commitment's hard, isn't it, though? Committing to things. Relationships are a big one for me. Like, I'll spend every day that I'm single tortured by the idea that I'll never find love. And then I go on one date with someone and I'm like, release me from these chains. She's got me in shackles. I'm trapped. She's trying to trap me. And I think there are a few reasons why commitment's hard. I think choice is a big reason. There's so much choice in life. And if you commit to one thing, then you might not be able to have another. For example, you can't have a long-term relationship and still have golden nuggets for breakfast. Words are going to be had. And even if you do have golden nuggets in the morning, you can't have cookie crisps. And then if you don't want diabetes, you can't have either of them. But then maybe you can have the relationship again. So it's a choice between diabetes and a delicious breakfast or love. And it's not as straightforward a decision as you might like to think. But like that feeling of having so much choice, I find it kind of paralysing. I don't know if that's an offensive word to use there, maybe a bit insensitive. What's causing your paralysis, Keith? I was in a car crash that killed 3 of my friends and left me in a coma for 2 years. What about you, Eric? I just don't know whether to buy a filtered water jug from Amazon. It's stressing me out. I don't know what effect it has. I don't know how much better it makes the water. I'm just lying out. I've been lying on my bed for 3 hours because I can't think about anything else apart from this water jug. But I don't know. I genuinely think committing to things and making decisions, that's one of the hardest things about leaving childhood behind. Because when you're a kid, you're like, this is year 1, this is year 2, all the way through to year 11 or whatever. You have a mapped out path. And then after that, society's like, all right, you figure it out now. And as an adult, you have so much choice of what to commit to. There are infinitely many ways you can live your life. We're obviously limited a bit by like our genetics and upbringing and all that. And don't get me started about the oppression that's rampant in our society that sets so many people back. But even considering all that, there's still so much choice. Like if you wanted to, you could spend all your free time naked, curled into a ball in the middle of your living room while screaming the word fennel. That's an option. And you could also do all that whilst wearing a beret. That's another option. That's a different option. And who's to say one of those options isn't the best way to live your life? I mean, it's unlikely, but, you know, it could be. And then even out of those 2 very similar options, one could be well better than the other. Like, the consequences of each could branch out in completely different directions. So you could get to the end of your life and and you could have had a shit life and think, oh, if only I wore that beret. So I guess part of the fear of commitment is a worry about regretting your decisions in the future. Like with relationships, it can be like, oh, what if there's someone else out there? But then even if there is someone else out there and you go out with them, you'll just be thinking, what if there's someone else out there again? It never ends. You can't shag everyone in the world and see who's best for you. And you can't try every job and every hobby. You just got to pick a few and go for it. You can't have everything on the menu at a restaurant. I mean that metaphorically, but I also do have that with restaurants. Or just spend the whole evening moaning to people about what I didn't have. No one wants to hear that. You've just kind of got to be like, you know what? I'm having a Big Mac meal and I'm going to enjoy the fuck out of it. And I'm not going to think about what I didn't have. And I like, Eric, we're a harvester. We don't do Big Mac meals. And I'm like, if I try hard enough and I commit, I can have anything I want, mate. I'll show you, pal. Can't have a Big Mac meal. Absolute pussy hole, mate. But you can't unfortunately, you can't live like 1,000 lifetimes and try everything. It's not like Groundhog Day where you can get good at a whole bunch of shit. You just gotta kind of fucking riff it and pick a few things and build a half decent life for yourself. Make a few decisions about who you want to be. I used to not like people with tattoos on their face and that. But you know what? At least they've made a definitive decision about who they are. A twat, but still, you know. And obviously there are some, like, you should be able to, sometimes you do need to quit in life and get out of something that you're committed to. Maybe a relationship that's really bad. But just make sure you're doing it because you're sure and not just because you're scared of commitment. For me, if you haven't considered faking your own death to get out of it, then you haven't been in it for long enough. And then also some people kind of commit to something and then want to quit it because they think, oh, maybe I'm not actually that good at it. But you know what? I have a lot of admiration for people who graft and are committed to things that they're pretty shit at. For example, a hero of mine is Gary Neville. Now, if you don't know who Gary Neville is, you probably do, but if you don't, he was a footballer that played for Man United in England. He played right back, and talent-wise, he wasn't the best. He was a bit shit in some ways, but he was so committed. I read his autobiography. He was so committed, so wanted to be a footballer that he worked so hard and he made himself an essential part of the team. Because you always hear about like other footballers like Beckham and Ronaldo being dead committed. Like Beckham was always practicing his free kicks and that. But their potential was so much higher. Gary Neville's ceiling was low. So it was easier for them to work hard because they were moving from, their hard work was moving them from an 8 out of 10 to a 10 out of 10. And that incentive's higher. Gary Neville was working out of his skin to like move from a 5 out of 10 footballer to a 7 out of 10 footballer. And he still knew it was worth it. I think we can all learn a lesson from that. Like, you might be so shit in a relationship that as a boyfriend or a girlfriend, you're a 3 out of 10 to be with. I don't mean like 3 out of 10 in terms of attractiveness. I mean overall 3 out of 10. But you could put an absolute shift in and make yourself a very respectful 6. I have a lot more admiration for that than for someone who's just naturally emotionally well adjusted and easy to get along with. They can fuck off. My heroes are the psychopaths that are just barely controlling themselves. And I guess also another fear of commitment. The fear of commitment comes from a fear of failure. Like, what if I commit to this thing and then it doesn't work out, or I'm shit at it if it's a job? I have that with comedy. I'm really worried about failing at comedy all the time. Like every day that I carry on doing this is another day less I have to retrain as an accountant or a bungee jump instructor or whatever. But I guess I've decided to do this now and I enjoy it. And if I'm going to do comedy and make these videos and that, I've got to try my best at it. Because also, no one's going to take that lack of commitment as an excuse anyway. No one's going to be like, Eric Rushton, he's a shit comedian, isn't he? But to be fair to him, I've heard he's not even trying, so. And also, what do you want to be remembered as? At my funeral, I want people to say, you know what? He wasn't the best comedian or employee or the best at cunnilingus, but he was committed and he always tried to get better. And on my gravestone, it's going to say Eric Rushton, the Gary Neville of comedy. See you next time.